I went out to a forest to hopefully capture a pigeon eating from a bird feeder, but all I got was majestic hawks and green herons flying away.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So I took the old Nicky boy out for a little walk. I've been debating switching into Canon. It's more of a downgrade. R5 II plus the 600mm Toneh 11 would be much worse than this combo, but I feel like the Canon would be more versatile for other genres, like street videography. Maybe the IBIS is better in the Canon, then we got the EF lenses with 3D pop. Oh my god. But I don't think I can let you go. And if you must know, we're on the Sony ZV-E1 with the Voigtlander 35mm Toneh 1.2. I just filmed last week's photography session on the Canon, which is equivalent to 36mm. So there was that, and now we're full frame, and the Toneh balls have increased, and the color science got worse, and I have AIDS. So the major thing I wanted to test today was sports mode for the IBIS, because I've been noticing handheld, perfect stay Nikon, and then if you want to follow something around, it gets jerky, it's all kinds of weirdness, so people are like, use sports mode, you moron. You know what that does for you? It makes all your handheld shots now unusable. Basically, you have the Sony swaying motion, so that is super annoying, but for panning motions, sometimes it's more smooth, but barely. A lot of times it isn't, and it hurts. And you know what's a funny, ironic joke of Nikon? You cannot map IBIS to a button to quickly switch into sport mode or turn it off. That's fun. You got to dive into the custom menu. Still, it's only one button press, but I like complaining about nothing. But I tell you, those two robins were all I saw for like 2 hours. I saw nothing. I got so far into a forest where only moths exist. And I was like, how come nothing is here? It was weird. Nothing. Like, I somehow disrespected nature by saying I'm going to downgrade to the 600mm Toneh 11. Wildlife is not that important to me. And it heard that, and everything hid from me, except magical moths. Now, HD 240p is where the moth shines, and it is beautiful in its magical abilities. I tell you, that HD 240 is beautiful. Another annoying thing, actually, about the Nikon, as little bugs fly by mysteriously, and the moth is the main subject, but he was the co-main character. I find it really annoying to manage and organize these files once I get them, because I have 6K 60 RAW, 4K 120 RAW, and HD 240, and they're all played back at normal speed, so each one I have to slow down by a different degree. So it's like 60p, okay, that's a 40%, and then 120p is 20%, and then HD 240 is 10%. I wish it was just all slowed down in camera for me, and every RAW file creates this proxy, which I would love to be able to turn off, but I can't. So it's like all these extra files. It's really annoying when I get home, and just to get started editing, I have to do all this stuff, and it takes a while looking at each individual file. Trust me, that's worth complaining about. I found a purple lily forest with green Toneh in the background, a little tiny bug. I was like, if you're just going by the image, I mean, Nikon colors in the wild are always beautiful. It's just my face gets red and weird. But like, the footage I'm very happy with, every single bit. Like, it's really fun to have 6K 60 RAW for the ultimate resolution, and then the 240p is as best as any other camera, if not the best. And then you have 120 if you want to punch in, although as we'll see later on, I don't think it's even worth using. I saw a plane. So we're in sport mode, just panning. See how it's like not perfect? Sometimes it's okay, but usually it's, I notice that a lot when I'm trying to follow something flying. It's very jerky in the scene. For those who are even thinking of telling me, oh, use a tripod, that's what professionals do. We're already there with the technology to just do that smoothly handheld. We don't need an extra thing that weighs as much, if not more, than my camera setup. Like, we're already there. It's very stable, just handheld, and sometimes it's good. Why is it only sometimes? Panasonic is beautiful when panning. Freaking Canon, I bet you, is pretty good. Sony was actually quite good. There was never jerky stuff. But like, if you're just handheld, it was swaying due to the balanced front heavy bitch. And then it happened. I saw this hawk. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The whole day, there was nothing but moths and squirrels. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. There's nothing here. And then I climbed this mountain and I saw this guy and he noticed me. He did look back at me. He was very apprehensive. He's like, is he looking at me? I will look at you. He was like an owl. You don't just turn your head to the left and look back. That's a neck crank waiting to happen. And then he got ready. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna do something magical. He's about to fly up. No, he just shut out a baby mouse, and that's bullshit, hawk. You're a majestic hawk. You had one chance to be on camera. You couldn't hold your dignity for just a 10-second clip here. Come on. But then it did happen. He was getting ready to fly. I'm like, oh my goodness, we're gonna get it. That was 6K 60 RAW. He took off. I was like, yep, we're doing it. Oh, you flew into an area that you were completely covered by trees and I couldn't track you. I hate you so much. But whatever, we got the shot. But I quite enjoy using the Nikon setup for the most part, other than the obvious left-hand dial that will be the death of me every time I go out and use it. Because I'm switching modes constantly, and that's always a thing, and you want to be keeping the hawk. Okay, we got him 6K 60, and then switch. It should be an easy right-handed thing. But Nikon, like the only system making wildlife lenses, like they're all in wildlife, and somehow you make a left-handed dial. It's like, give me a break. And you can only make 3 custom modes, which is kind of very limiting. They're already booked up. 6K 60, 4K 120, HD 240, all with the same settings. If I want to go do something else, like when I do the slow motion street videography, I have to completely change and save one of those settings and then remember what to do and go back. It's like annoying as heck. Most companies let you save 10 or more. Sony's 14, Panasonic is 10, Canon's probably 3 as well, you diddly bitch. But you deal with those quirks, my friend, in a low-light forest where no shadows ever flicker. I tell you, like, there's no problems with this sensor in normal use. People are still complaining, oh my God, if you expose for a candle at 12,800 ISO, you're gonna never believe the garbage can next to it is gonna be so flickery. It's bullshit. When you raise it up, it's 19 stop. It's like, go shoot something. I never see anything. Oh, the dynamic range is terrible. It doesn't look like it, ever. But like it is worse than most full frame, but is most full frame doing 6K 60 RAW with autofocus and then HD 240 as well with autofocus? Animal eye detect, perfect. Like Fuji never did that. It would latch on the eye and then hunt and then back and then hunt constantly. And the latest firmware probably made it even worse, if we're being real. Nikon is the stuff. I saw a pack of 900,000 starlings in a tower and they were climbing with flight, and they noticed that being up high was cool. Oh, he bumped into his friend. He's like, don't worry about it, Tom. I'm fine. I'm not injured. My back hurts, actually. Can you get me a worm next time? You won't? I was trying to follow one, and I picked the wrong one. Then I regathered. It's okay. We're sports mode here. It's panning. It's not jerking around. That's decent. See, sometimes it works good enough. It's good enough. And sometimes it doesn't, and it is what it is. I feel like having 4K 120 with the APS-C crop is an advantage in wildlife, but as you'll see later with the squirrel eating bread, I don't think you gain the advantage you think you might. As the golden sunflowers bless our heart, little tiny bees and bugs fly to their new home across the sea. They hover and they turn, waiting for nectar to be given to them by butterflies. I climbed up a hill and noticed that I was now eye level with one of those starlings, and I was gonna wait for him to fly away, but he never did. He just stayed there looking back and forth for hawks, and then he would warn his town. And yes, I tried a bullshit shot where I tried to follow one of those white moths flying and nothing was ever in focus and there was zero 3D pop, and I got some moments. Look, a blue friend, huh? Do you have a blue friend? No, you don't. So, grow up. I saw a green heron. I met this guy, this German photographer. He was using a Micro Four Thirds setup. Couldn't believe it. And he was sitting here and he's like, I noticed he was looking at that Heron. I was like, oh, cool. And he looked back at me. He's like, oh, do you want to sit here? I was like, sure. He was like, I need an excuse to leave. I've been here for 2 hours. That guy had passion. So I'm now following him on Instagram. You can follow him as well. So I stole the Germans home, and I noticed that World War II was upon us. And I got the shot due to my firepower. I had a bigger gun than he did, basically. He had the 100 to 400 Leica. Come on now. I have a 600 prime. It's full frame. I got 6K 60 RAW. I think he had a Panasonic G85 if it was a foot. I mean, did I need 240 frames per second for this shot? Probably not. But it looks pretty darn good for HD 240. Usually companies, like, they don't do so well in that, but it's actually sharper than the Sony, way better than the Fuji. Most other companies don't even have it. And if they do, Panasonic, you can't autofocus in it. So it's like, what's the point? He reached down to grab something. He didn't eat anything, but he almost got something, and yes, I'm just looking at his ass. It's not the greatest shot I've ever done, but he'll stretch his wing soon. Look at that stretch. He's about to do it. I forget, I think this is 4K 120 RAW. A little punch in on it, sharper. I mean, I know I complain a lot about this setup, and rightfully so, but if you just go out and shoot, it's just the minor little annoyances. You're gonna come back with like the best footage you can get for the price. That lens isn't cheap, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's worth it. The light, I mean, to think under $10,000 Canadian for a prime and full frame being that light, like it's basically micro four thirds level. Similar weight to the G9 II with the Leica 200 prime, only you get way more reach, more Tonehs, and better capability camera. As the duck wanders over to his friend, she says, hey, sis, do you want to bake a cake later on? And then the other sister said, leave, Luann, get out of here. We're baking a cake later. You can't bake anything. Last one was slimy. You suck at baking. But here's what we all came for. This is what you get a nice wildlife full frame prime setup for, squirrels eating bread. So I wanted to see, is it worth ever using the 4K 120 with its APS-C crop? Why not just punch in with the 6K? So here we have it. On the left, 6K 60 RAW. On the right, 4K 120 RAW. Boom. We're punching in now to match the crop. And the 6K is still sharper. And it's better in every way. So I don't know why you would ever use 4K 120. You think you're getting extra reach. If you want it extra reach and slower than 6K 60, okay. But I would much rather just switch between the two. 6K 60 for ultimate resolution and HD 240 with a 5% crop. Slight punch in. And then we're good to go. But that 6K 60 is beautiful squirrel bread eating action right there. It does not get better than that. And if you punch in a little on the 4K 120, you get a little more reach, a little slower bread chewing. The guy's taking thoughtful bites now. That's pretty good. Pretty good little system there. So congratulations, Nikon. You survived another outing without being sold to the black market. And I feel like I might keep it. I'm still on that fence. But I just feel like Canon's not offering enough to where, like, I know for sure it'd be better. If it was like HD 480 or something better, like, you're not getting anything better. You have 8K 60 RAW, but the file sizes are unusable. You get like 11 seconds of footage for like a 500 terabyte card. That's the rumors heading around. Whereas 6K 60, I'm getting back here, full day of like that is like 130 gigs. It's a lot, but it's manageable. And that's all raw except the HD 240. So it's pretty good. It's a balance. It's a sweet spot balance. That damn left mode dial will be the death. But whatever. We'll survive it somehow. I will leave now after Bitcoins enter my wallet somehow. And thank you for watching and subscribing for more videos. And I'll see you next.